Welcome to the next episode of Discipline, Desire, Dedication. My name is Dakota Lang, along with co-host Garrett Cotten. Today we got a special episode, something that me and Cotten are very passionate about, and that is recruiting. So obviously, we're both from Louisiana, don't even have a Louisiana market yet, and we've built a downline of, close to 100 people just from recruiting from Louisiana.
Yep.
So, just kind of tell you what we've been doing. We just finished our regional meeting and market owner meeting, and guess what that topic was about?
Recruiting.
So
it's fresh on the mind, to say the least. So yeah, we'll have a lot of good insight for this this topic today, and then we can kind of relate it to stuff very in line with what we talk about with our company. So
100%. So the first thing I wanted to lead off with was I was actually taking a phone call on the way here, and we were talking about recruiting, and it came back to, I was like, dude, if you don't have belief in your business and the people that are already in your business don't have belief in what they're doing, then they can't recruit. They might have people in their pipeline, quote unquote, their phone book or their contacts in their phone, but are they actually doing the action of recruiting, right? And what does that look like? So I use the example of when me and you first started in Denver, right? When I first got to Denver, I read the script, went into the room, and I was like, dude, this is a gold mine.
Yep. I remember you were so mind blown with just the script. You were like, this is genius. Yeah.
Literally. And then once you get into the room, it's like we found a gold mine. And I even told you at that point, I'm like, dude, this is going to be huge. Like, this is way bigger than we could even think at that moment. You know what I mean? We were mind blown with closer. And in reality, look at us now. We weren't even thinking this far at that time. Nope. We were just thinking about getting a closer and how many people can we recruit into this business. But I think the first step with being a good recruiter is understanding the opportunity that you have.
Yeah. You have to be, people talk about success is delusional. You have to be delusional to be successful. And we were delusional about where this was going to bring us, right? So, like, we walked in and we were sold that this was our ticket out. We were sold that there is no plan B, even from whenever we were day one people and hadn't made over 10,000 in a month, but we believed that what this is it was going to get us out of any bad situation for the future.
And that was even a perspective that at the time you weren't even closing, right? You recruited me on the opportunity off of what you saw other people do, right? You weren't making those the $50K months yet. Nope. You know what I mean? You just saw other people doing it, and that's how you recruited me. You're like, dude, if you saw these people making 50 G's in a month, we could make 100. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that was just because you saw the opportunity on what it could be, and you sold me on it, right?
Yeah. So I think what might be really good, let's kind of dive into our mindset and like the perspective of being a brand new knocker in the room, So we were, both of us right off the rip, we were knockers, and we were just sold that, hey, look, this is life-changing money. Like, you can come out here, you can make, at the time, $8,000 to $10,000 a month, and we were like, I'll drop everything for that. Versus like in today's knockers that are coming in, we've got knockers who are hitting Big Check Friday, $10,000 in a week. So you have the potential of doing $30,000, $40,000 in a month. Like, the opportunity is so much larger. Whereas, like, yet we don't necessarily see the same spike in recruiting that we did when we were there. What do you think the difference is in that?
It goes back to I love the saying that Kyle said that first podcast that we ever did, right? A lot of people look at the performance windows and they're like, man, people think that we're, hitting the dock, when in reality we're just hitting the open seas. People don't realize that the opportunity that you have now is actually bigger than the opportunity that we had then.
100%.
Because they have so many more testimonies, so many more stories that you can relate to. People that came from
systems that can be replicated. Like, the thing is, we had to figure out everything as we went, recruiting wise. And the alternative is, like, people now, we just tell them exactly what they need to do, and they just plug and play. So I think on the recruiting aspect as well, like, we're very, very strong organic recruiters. And that's where we've been able to implement a system. Like, even Josh Mascaro in our market owner meeting today, he made a comment how when he was market owner, he got a big house, 4 bedrooms, 4 extra beds. and he's housing people, right? And that's a system that we had created that system, and now people in the company are able to just use the system. And Josh Mascaro was able to become a knocker to regional 4 positions within, I think, 2 years. Right?
I think it's quicker than that. I think
it was hella quick.
Honestly, I think it was probably about a year and a half.
But it's because systems are placed in front. So in order to scale in this company, it's easier to do it nowadays.
Yeah, and all he did was just replicate it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And that's the message that should be getting delivered to everybody that's not in this company. Is that you can walk in, you can come from any type of sales experience or no sales experience, and just trust that the people in our leadership here, we've walked the route. You know, we've gone down every path, and we're able to give you an exact method to get to the top.
Yeah, and you're able to use our stories to your advantage. You know what I mean? Like, I tell people all the time, like, I'm no different than you. All I did is I just went out there and grinded. I implemented, right? Mm-hmm. I've sold people. I had so much belief that Levi said it a while back. He was like, he made it a challenge. I can't even remember when he did this, but he was like, I want to see who can recruit the highest earning individual from a different business, different company to come to Performance Windows.
Yeah.
Because if you have such high belief, we got people in here that haven't been with this company for a year and a half that are going to make over $500,000 this year.
Yep.
That, you know, this is their second full year. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what other career can you do that? But the reason that people lose sight, especially, and I don't want to get tracked because I want to go through each step with the knockers, closers, market owners, and even as regionals. Mm-hmm. The simple step is that you have to have so much belief in your organization, yourself, and the systems that you're with, and then you can recruit anybody.
Yeah, it comes down to sell or be sold in each position as well. Because even as a knocker, you're getting sold on like, oh, well, I've got, you know, everybody's got their excuses as why they can't come. And the biggest thing is give them a reason, solve their problems to where they can't tell you no. You know, I think that's a big lesson for recruiting as well, is that you're going to try and recruit people, you'll talk to people. It is sell or be sold. You know, you're going to call and say, hey, I can get you in here. I can train you this week. Let's get you paid. And they're going to say, oh, well, I got to put in my 2 weeks, right? Sell or be sold. Now, problem solve is to overcome that. You know, be like, hey, look, well, let's figure out a way around it. You know, think about, do you really need your 2 weeks? Is this a job that you think you might actually come back to? Or are you going to commit to this and change your life? Now it's sell or be sold. Same thing with the kid excuse or my girl excuse or things like that.
My family.
Yeah.
And literally, today's like what? July 17th or
20th,
something?
20th.
Oh, yeah, today's
payday.
Mm-hmm. Today's July 20th. Literally, Saturday evening, I text, or was that Saturday evening? Yeah, Saturday evening or yesterday. I can't remember. My days run together. But literally 2 days ago or yesterday, I had a guy that, you know, you've previously talked to. Yep. I talked to back in 2024 that we knew from college. He'll probably end up watching this episode. Shout out to you, brother. Glad you're here now. Mm-hmm. You know, but he's calling us, and his first thing is like, oh, man, well, you know, I got to call my mom and see if I can get some money because I ain't got no money for gas or anything to get there.
Yep.
I said, brother, what is your cash out? Mm-hmm. I'm going to solve that problem.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to send you $100. There's your gas. Get you some waters and some drinks at the gas station and head this way.
And that goes down to the champion will find a solution and a loser makes excuses. And when the people say, like, I can't recruit, I can't get nobody, it's because you keep getting sold in those situations. Whereas, like, if you give me and there is a way to get you here in the room tomorrow, then I'm going to do whatever it is to get you in that room. But it comes down to the belief, though. The reason we're like that is because we trust and believe that this company will change that person's life. If you just give me a second of your time to listen to me and let me guide you, I'll guide you to that promised land.
Yep.
You know.
And the thing is that this is why I relate it back to the opportunity is now, or at this current moment, is better than when we had it when we first came in. Mm-hmm. Because now you have all of these testimonies of people who have changed their life.
Yeah.
Whenever I came in, you were just telling me about your life. Mm-hmm. You know, you didn't have another 10, 15 people that you've already recruited that have, you know, changed their life and achieved financial freedom.
Yeah.
now you have so many testimonies, and you have to use that to your advantage. And once you use that to your advantage, me and Cotten, we tell people all the time, look, if you want to get somebody on the phone, get me on three-way with them. I promise you.
I'll close the deal.
I'm a close. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you have to have that much passion and have that much belief in yourself and your career and your system that whenever they get on the phone with you, you're going to close the deal, you know?
Yeah, it comes down to being a good closer. You know, being a good closer is, you know, not taking, well, I mean, in a situation like this, it's knowing that this is the best possible outcome for the individual that we're talking to. You know, we wouldn't be on a recruiting call if you weren't at a point in your life where you need a change, right? And that's like what I realize as a closer. When I get on that phone call and I'm talking to you about life-changing opportunity, I'm going to change your life. I'm going to get you on a plane. I'm going to buy you a plane ticket. I'm going to get you an Uber if I need to. I've covered prices for a bus fare, you know. But like whatever the case is, if there's a will, there is a way. But, you know, it's just our job to get them in that room.
Yep.
Close the deal.
So, and let's talk about the pros of recruiting as a knocker, right? What the pros of recruiting as a knocker? Me personally, whenever I was a knocker, I was constantly recruiting, getting people from Louisiana.
Well, I think just on the big picture of recruiting as a knocker is you're learning with somebody. You're growing and developing in that role with somebody. You know, it's kind of like me and you doing this podcast.
Yep.
If I were to do the podcast by myself and get to 100 episodes by myself and then try and bring you on to be my guest, it doesn't work out. But if we treat it from the beginning, day one, we're like, I don't know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing. Let's just talk, right? Yep. We'll figure it out, and we grow as we come. I mean, we grow as more days go by. So bringing on a knocker while you're a knocker, now you've created some sort of internal competition. Now you've always got to be that person's, you know, you got to be leader. You got to bring them in. You can't ever let them pass you up. So now it's teamwork to climb all the way to the top. Yep. Whereas the alternative, give your perspective on like being a closer and waiting until you're a closer to get recruits.
Yeah, well, definitely being a closer and getting recruits. First off is that we've seen it time and time again where people waited to recruit as a closer and then they qualified to become closer but ain't got no recruits.
They run up on sales and then the sales stop and then it takes them 2 months to get 2 recruits. Yep. And then they got to relearn sales, and then they got to try and train their recruits, but their recruits didn't stick because they didn't have any swag.
Yep. And all you are is a qualified knocker, quote unquote.
Yep. Who can qualify 4 months in a row, you know?
Literally.
But you can't change others' lives. And I think that's the big difference in like the growth, just growth in our company, is that we're changing lives. We're not just bringing people into the room. There's a bigger difference for the person at the bottom.
Yep. And also, like, whenever you recruit as a knocker, it's so beneficial because as you continue to build your team, right, we're going to send people off with you. That's the best thing about performance windows is we set our market owners up for success. We don't expect you to go out there and do it on your own.
Yeah, like Jacksonville starts it off with a market owner plus 6 bodies.
Yeah,
with
two of them closers. 2
closers. You know, so that's set up for success.
Yep, exactly. And also, those people saw Jet in the streets. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Knocking
them doors, right? He gets to see that type of grind that you have as a recruiter, and they're going to respect you 10 times more as a leader, right? Yeah. But let's roll into the closer role. So, as a closer, right, you're recruiting. We always say when you bring somebody in, it adds like $80,000 of income to your yearly commissions.
Kind of like a rough guess,
right? Just a rough estimate, and that don't even count like it with their progression and stuff like that. That's just on average, right? But when you bring somebody in as a closer, first of all, they want to be in the position that you're in, right? Because when you're a knocker, you're telling them how you're making, some good money and stuff like that. But closer, you're talking about money that people have never experienced in their life, and they might not even know anybody that makes that type of money. Yeah. Right? I mean, that was my scenario. I didn't know anybody making 50 G's in a month. Like, I didn't even know that it really existed unless you were, like, just famous. Yeah.
Literally.
But as a closer, when you're recruiting people want to be in your shoes. So you always want to, my pitch is like, I'm going to get you to closer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That is going to be my obligation to you. If you give me the work, I promise you, I'm going to get you qualified and I'm going to help you change your life. Yeah. And I think that's super crucial as a closer. But to be a good recruiter as a closer, you got to be able to close.
That's right.
You know,
you have to. But then it also comes back to that internal pressure, where like if I bring you into the room, I sell you that this is life changing and all the above, and I'm your closer. Now I have to close those deals. I have to get us paid. I have to make sure that we're both progressing. You know, so it's like it's a pressure that is privileged. You know, to have somebody else on your team. But on that team aspect, again, the whole mindset of this is that you're building your business within a business, right? And then once you have your team of 1 or 2 closers, 2 or 3 knockers, then you're able to just move off into anywhere in this country, and we can have brick and mortar office and establish a successful business.
Yeah, 100%. And I, you know, bringing those people in as a closer, but also, I don't want to get into this yet. We'll get into this as a market owner recruiting, but even as a closer, the people that see the most success as a closer recruiter, because this is something that I took a lot of pride in whenever I was recruiting as a closer, is I was going to go out there and do it right in front of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was going to go self-gen a close right in front of you, right?
How easy
just to show you how easy it is, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people, we've seen it time and time again, they get a recruit in as a closer, right? And they get some knockers, and then they go out there and they think they just can kick their feet up now because they got some knockers that are going to be setting on that board.
And they become lead babies.
They become lead babies, and also you look up in 2 months and where are your knockers at?
And they gone.
They gone. Mm-hmm. They quit, right? Because you're not leading them.
Yep, no leadership. We see it time and time again. But it is important though that, you know, as a closer. But I think that when you have an office that has that culture where knockers are recruiting, closers are recruiting, market owners still recruiting, it has a culture of leaders. You know, because the people who have recruits in the room, they're taking their team under their wings. They're like me and my guys. You know, it's like there's some camaraderie in there. So
culture.
Yeah, that is it is like if you don't ever want to have to work and fix your culture, just always be bringing in new bodies. That's like the cheat code to this system.
Yeah, but bring in new bodies and get them to buy into your vision.
And if you're doing it, your closers are doing it, then the system is never out of order. It continues to progress as time goes on because everybody's doing it. That's like in me and your run-up from regional. The whole time we're market owner, we never really slumped because even though I just spun off, you know, Dakota's whole team, I've got Lizzie with her recruits coming in. Yep. And now I got Lizzie out, I got Guppy with his teams. His team is in the room as we spin y'all off. But now we just get to put him in the spotlight. Yep. So it's just it's a well-oiled machine.
Right. Well, that's one thing. I was actually going to say it on the meeting today, but like whenever we're talking to Levi, just his regional role, you know, we're talking about Levi, this guy qualified, you know what I mean, last month. They had 2 people qualify. Levi's first question is okay, who are the next good knockers? Mm-hmm. You know, who is the next generation, right? Because now we just lost our good knockers. They qualified. Mm-hmm. Who are the next ones?
Yep.
Right? Because if not, boom, down. You're going to drop in revenue every single time, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not just, you don't just recruit whenever you're bad or whenever you're trying to, you know, get a spike in revenue. No, you recruit all the time. And if you value the business and the organization that we're a part of, and maybe that you're a part of if you're not with performance, right? Always be recruiting. Have so much belief in the value of the company that you work for, and people will follow you 1,000%.
Yeah, it just creates a successful organization whenever people are excited to work for that business. Yep. You know, even look at Chili's. I worked at Chili's, but one thing that I did is I would always try and get my people to come into Chili's. Come work with me if you need a job. You're like literally, but it's again, that's the culture of this is a place where you want to be, right? And if I'm not recruiting you to come work with me, you know, being a leader, then why would anybody do it? How is this business going to scale and how is it going to grow?
Yep. Good culture is whenever people want to be there, not that they have to be there.
Yeah, and that's what we do at Performance Windows. I mean, we're changing lives. It's a lot better than Chili's.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Let's go into the market owner role. I think this is super important, right? The other 2, knocker and closer, is going to set you up for market owner. It's just at a bigger scale. Mm-hmm. So I always tell people it goes back to being a great salesman. You can only make so much money.
Right.
Being able to train a lot of great salesmen, Unlimited. You can make a lot more money, right? Same thing with recruiting. being a good recruiter by yourself, yeah, you can scale, but if you're able to train 10, 15 other people how to be great recruiters, you can scale 100 times faster, right? And I think that's super important at the market owner role is something that we've, adapted to and constantly preach is training people to how to be good recruiters because that's what we've done at our whole time here at Performance.
Yep, all the regionals are great recruiters. They've constantly recruited. I'd say knocker, closer, market owner. The recruiting day to day doesn't change. It just needs to be a brand where if you have a conversation with somebody, you tell them about what you do, you tell them how it changed your life, and you try and get them into a meeting as soon as possible. And if they give you excuses, it's sell or be sold. If they say, "Oh, I can't right now, I'm too in debt," you were in debt, right? And look at us now. If they say, "Oh, I can't, I got kids,"
well, I was in debt to you,
right? But it happens every day where people have those issues, and so sell or be sold. But each role as you go through market owner, closer, knocker, the recruiting doesn't change that much. I'd say that the perspective of it changes a little bit when you come to regional, though, only because we're no longer in a specific office every day. So now it comes down to trusting for your people and trusting your market owners and making sure that you're placing them in the right area. So I guess that's where it really changes is when you get to the regional role. But even here, I got a recruit that started in Jacksonville today. But
I will say as a market owner role, you have to be a great recruiter because you have to train other people how to recruit.
Right. It's the most important because the strongest relationships are when you're recruited by a knocker and you're a knocker as well. That's the strongest relationship. Me and you, we're both knockers, right? Then you go into the next role. When you get into the next role, whenever a closer is recruiting, you think, like I'll use Lizzie as an example. Lizzie wouldn't come do this job because I was already closing. And she's like, "Oh, Garrett's making all that big money. Like, no way that's true." Like it was almost
employee mentality. Like I'm employing you.
You're right, exactly. But whenever you're a knocker, you're coming in, and from that perspective of like, dude, trust me, we're gonna go to the top. We're gonna go together. Closer, in a sense, it is that same thing, but it's the closers promising like, "Hey, I'm gonna get you here. Come with me." I guess recruiting is always you just bringing that person with you to the top.
Yeah, 100. Well, that goes back to, not being a boss, being a leader. You know what I mean, right? We don't. Whenever I recruit people, I don't recruit people to come work for me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. You're not coming to work for me, big dog. No. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get mine regardless.
Yep.
Right. But what you are gonna do is you're gonna come work for yourself, and you're gonna accomplish your own goals. I'm just gonna show you how to do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you're not coming to clock in on my clock. You know what I mean? Like. You're going to build your own business, right? You're not an entrepreneur. You're just going to be an entrepreneur. You're going to input yourself into this business structure and just implement our systems, and then you can go to the top, right? Yep. The thing about our business is that you don't get paid to show up. You know what I'm saying? You don't get paid to show up. You get paid to come in and produce and get paid big money for it.
Yeah, and doing the system, not overcomplicating it. It's proven so many times. It's like getting in shape. There's there's workout plans out there, nutrition plans. And when somebody comes into the gym and they want to get in shape, that's when it's going to happen. But Performance Windows is the right gym.
Let's talk about this real quick because I was actually talking to a market owner the other day, and they were talking about we're getting all these people committed, but they're not coming in, or they're coming into the office, but they're like, "Oh man, this isn't for me," right? And I was like, well. What that tells me is that we're not qualifying these people. I don't want to, because you can't get it's like on the doors, right? We qualify if they're good for us. They don't qualify if we're good for them, right? You follow me? So whenever you are recruiting, that's when you got to find out, like, what is your goals? What are you looking for? Are you looking for where you can have your weekends free? Well, then every single weekend, right? Well, then this ain't the job. This is not the opportunity for you, right? Yeah. Are you looking for something that you can work 20 hours a week and work from home? Well, this isn't the opportunity for you, right? So doing proper problem solving whenever you're talking to people or recruiting people, find what they're looking for. Yep. Because once you find their problems, like you said a second ago, I'm going to solve them.
Yeah. Well, and being a closer is, you figuring out the thing that is prohibiting you from moving forward, right? Yep. That's like what we do as recruiting. Like you're in a bad, you're broke. Well, I can get you here today. Car broke down, we'll get you here today, and I will get you a ride every day that you're here. We just make it to where it's a no-brainer for that person to become and join our team.
Yep. And let's we'll go do a brief discussion on the regional recruiting, right? Like I said yesterday, just a while ago, I had recruited that dude the other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sent him to Fort Worth and pretty much just solved all the problems.
Yeah, but I think how do we get out in front of people? Because we're constantly traveling all over new markets, things of that nature. For one is social media. I know it's something we hear about all the time, but it does need to be talked about. If you do not have social media where you're posting and branding yourself as the business, then people aren't going to join you to do it, right? It's simple as that, is that if people don't know what you're doing, how are they going to do it with you? I always like to ask people that. So social media is big for us. We got people reaching out to us on social media because we post often. Now we post more life nowadays and, with a little bit of work here and there, but people know that we're still involved with Performance Windows. Like even last week, I posted, "Thank you, Performance Windows, for the trip." So putting our information out there so that people can see it, that's how people know that you are still hiring. You're still out there. You're still growing. Mm-hmm. So social media is like a big part of it at the regional level, because that's where, as regionals, more people will reach out to us because they're curious. And I say that because anybody that knows me on a personal level, from knocker, closer, market owner, they've already been recruited by me. I've talked to everybody I know, and they all know what I'm doing. So now it's more of like randoms that'll reach out. Like my guy in Jacksonville, his dad followed me on Instagram, never met him in my life, but I was able to place him in a Jacksonville market.
Yeah, which is crucial, you know what I mean? I think that, and you don't want to be a bot on social media. You know what I mean? You want to have a balance. Like, let them see that.
Don't be
let
a
them
bot
see your lifestyle
in any form of recruiting, because I feel like that's also with like Indeed recruits, right? We just treat them as like, oh, it's a bot. That's another person. I'm going to have another person come through, right? If we treat them like that, that's what they are. Whereas like even organic recruits and Indeed recruits, when I was a market owner and I got an Indeed recruit, I took him under my wing, and it's like a project. I have to develop this person and change his life and prove to him that what I told him in that Indeed interview, that it's life-changing money. I have to prove that it's that easy, right? But if we treat it like it's a bot, like just a free body, then that's all they'll be for us.
Yep. I think that's very crucial. And then one last point I want to drive home, because like you said, everybody that knows me, I've already pitched. I've already recruited, you know what I mean? So even at the scale I am now, like, we talk about your mom. She got more recruits in the company than
a lot of people.
A lot of people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But I think that's super important, that everybody knows exactly what you do and how this has changed your life, And
yeah, my wife has gotten recruits for me. My mom has gotten recruits for me. My dad has I don't think we've ever gotten anybody, but I've been on phone calls with like 60-year-old dudes wanting to do the job.
Yep.
Right. But it's because everybody in my life knows exactly what I'm doing and how much it's changed my life.
Yep. And I think it's super important, while we wrap up, is that make sure everybody knows what you're doing. Make sure you're constantly staying on social media, because that's where a lot of people go to nowadays. And then also, if you reach out to people and they're not interested in it, ask them, right? Do you know anybody that would be interested in it? Mm-hmm. Get leads from them. Get them to tell you, oh, yeah, my buddy over here has been looking for a job, right?
My first recruit ever before Dakota was Dylan Crafasi.
Yep.
And I'm over here begging my best friend, Trent. I'm like, dude, please come with me. Please come with me. And he's like, nah, bro, I ain't coming. But Dylan ain't doing nothing. His little brother. And guess what? Dylan was 19 years old, making $70,000 a month, because he was my first recruit.
Yep. So, hit Golden Door in his first year.
Yeah, 19 years old.
19 years old.
But that's how it goes, though.
Yep. So if you want to scale your business, make sure you're always recruiting. Don't just do it for a certain period of time. Make it a lifestyle thing, and I promise you, we always live and die by it, right? To become a millionaire, you got to change millions of lives. So make sure to like and subscribe to all of our channels. Share the post. Comment below what you loved about the pod. And, we'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.